Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Psalm 10 as we learn to walk in wisdom every day growing in our understanding of God and of ourselves and of life and of church and becoming a little wiser. Generally, wisdom is not something that is downloaded in an instant in the way that it happened for Solomon. Generally, wisdom comes through the appropriation of the Word of God into our lives as we walk through our lives daily with God, putting into practice the things that God has spoken to us about through His Word. And today we're learning about how to deal with a giant. In Psalm 10, there's a good reason for us to be thinking that Psalm 10 is a continuation of Psalm 9. That's how the Septuagint renders it. And if you were to look at Psalm 9 and join it with Psalm 10, you have an acrostic poem where the first letter of each line is following the alphabet of the Hebrews. And so this means that there's a reason why Psalm 10 doesn't have a title. It's because its title is back there in Psalm 9, the same title. And there you have that mysterious word that I mentioned yesterday, Muthlaban. Muthlaban. And you'll see how mysterious that word is today because the Chaldee version renders Muthlaban as concerning the death of the champion who went between camps. And it's a clear reference to Goliath. Goliath casts his shadow over most of Psalm 10. You only get to the victory towards the very end. Everyone has a giant to deal with, intimidating you, making you feel small and insecure and less than enough, making you feel like you're a subtraction or a reduction. This giant questions your faith at the visceral level. You can identify your Goliath. Simply ask yourself, who or what makes you feel small? Now, verse 1 of Psalm 10 says, "Why, O Lord, do you stand far off? Why do you hide yourself in times of trouble?" If you ever ask that question, then you need to know there's a giant threatening you. And you want to know why God isn't doing something about your situation. Theoretically, you know that God is with you. You know He never leaves you. You know He's omnipresent and He's omnipotent and omniscient. But theoretical knowledge doesn't work against a giant. So when a giant enters the scene, you're left wondering, why doesn't God do something about this guy? There is a reason. When David went to the front lines to deliver some lunch to his brothers and saw Goliath and heard his taunt, "Give me a man and let us fight," David's response was radically different to everyone else. Everybody else ran away, but David, he ran toward the giant. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? And David faced Goliath with nothing but a rag and a rock and the confidence that comes from knowing that the battle is the Lord's. How is it that trained warriors ran away, but a young boy ran toward the problem? They ran away in fear, but David ran ahead in faith. Where does this kind of faith come from? worship. That's where it comes from. In verses 14 through to 18, it says this, "But you, O God, do see trouble and grief. You consider it to take it in hand. You are the helper of the fatherless, in order that we may be terrified no more." All of that means that God is on your side. All of that means the battle really is the Lord's. Whenever the giant looms large over your life, threatening you, robbing you of peace and confidence, you need to worship until you know the battle is the Lord's. The battle is the Lord's. Them's worshiping words. Worship will change the course of the battle. So the next time some giant has you wondering what's going on, you just spend some time in worship until you get yourself the victory. God bless you. Have an awesome day, and we'll get together again tomorrow.